So hello students, welcome to the online classes. Today we are going to see about the dynamic memory allocation in C languages. So we are going to allocate a memory for a variables. Why we need a memory allocation for a variable and what is the use of that? We already studied about the array variables. So array can be any type of variable, integer, float, double, character. So for example, take this int a of 10. It means 10 sizes or 10 spaces initially allocated with a span of 2 bytes. It means every value will take care of 2 bytes value. So totally 2 into 10 value. So totally 20 bytes will be allocated initially. So it means total 20 bytes will be allocated, whether we are going to store all values or not. But 20 bytes, all 20 bytes will be allocated initially when we write the program. In some other cases, we are using pointers. The pointer may hold the address of another variable. It means we indirectly accessing variable through pointers. For that, we are going to store many values by using of address that is stored in the pointer variable. So it means we are going to store many values in the pointer while we running the program. So in these cases, we can't judge how many values we will have when we run the program. So we have to count number of values are coming in the running and how many values we are going to store in the pointers. So in this case, we need to allocate the memory. That means we are going to allocate the memory at the time of running the program. So that is a reason that's why we are entering into the dynamic memory allocation. So that sentence is having the meaning dynamic memory allocation. So dynamic means during runtime and memory allocations. So it means memory allocated will be done at the time of run the program. Okay, so that's why we are entering into the dynamic memory allocations. So let's go to the topic. So first of all, what is dynamic memory allocation? So it is a process of allocating memory during the runtime. So that's why we are called as a dynamic memory allocation. So during runtime or program execution is called as a dynamic memory allocation. So we are going to allocate a memory during the runtime. So in this topic, in this concept, have 4 functions. With the use of these 4 functions, we are going to allocate the memory, and also we are going to disallocate the memory. It means we are going to release the memory. Okay, so these 4 functions, first one is malloc, second one is calloc, third one is realloc, and the last one is free. So with the use of malloc, we can allocate the memory for a particular variable. It means we can allocate the memory for the any type of variable. We can allocate the memory for integer or float or double or character. So for any type of variable, we can allocate the memory. Okay, so this is a syntax of every functions available. That is malloc, that is a function name, and a number, that means how many bytes, how many values we needed. That number of values we are going to allocate the memory. So that's the number here, and size of that particular data type. For example, you are going to create memory for the integer variable, means that type how to specify here. Okay, suppose we are going to create the memory for the character, means here we have to use the particular data type char. Okay, so similarly we have another one memory allocation, that is called as calloc. Calloc is nothing but contiguous memory allocation. It means it will allocate the number of memory blocks. So malloc means it will create only one block of memory, and in that block may have a number of bytes of memories are available. But in calloc, it will create number of memory blocks. In each memory block, they may have a number of bytes will be available. So calloc will be creating number of block of memory. and each blocks of memory will be assigned to 0. But malloc will not be assigned to 0. Initially it will have the any default value that may called as the garbage value. Okay, and also realloc function, while we allocate the memory for the particular variable with the use of malloc or calloc, later that number of bytes for the particular variable is not enough for storing value further, so we have to extend the memory. In these cases we have to reallocate the memory for the particular variable. So that means, for example, initially you are created 20 bytes of memory. That 20 bytes of memory is not enough for me for storing more than 20 values for a character variable. So if you need a 50 values you need to store, means later we can reallocate the memory with the use of a realloc function. So will be as realloc, then your pointer name, and also how many bytes you are going to create, and the data type we have to specify. So this is called as the realloc. And also free, last function is called as the free. During for storing values we are allocating memory for the variable with the use of malloc or calloc or realloc function. So after finishing all your concepts, all your allocating or all of your process of handling variables, at last of the program, at last of your C program, it is mandatory to release the memory. So for releasing the memory, we have to use that free function. In that free function, simply we have to use that corresponding pointer variable name only. Okay, so these are the 4 functions are available in a dynamic memory allocation. First one is malloc, second one is calloc, third one is realloc, and the fourth one is free. Okay, so we will discuss one by one. First one is malloc function. Malloc function is used to allocate space in memory during execution of the program. So malloc function is used to create the memory. It means number of bytes will be created for the particular variable. So it means we can use any type of variable. We can use an integer or float or double or character. So for any type of data type of variable, we can create the memory. So that is achieved using that malloc function. So malloc doesn't initialize memory allocate during the execution. It means it will allocate the memory size. The memory bytes will be created for the particular variable, but each bytes will not have initial value as 0. It will have the any default value that may called as a garbage value. Okay, so initially it will not have the 0. It will have the default value that is called as the garbage value. Okay, that is one of the important point in the malloc function. And malloc function returns null pointer if it couldn't able to allocate requested amount of memory. For example, you are going to create the 10 bytes of memory for the integer. It means we are going to store 5 values. So we are going to create the 10 bytes of memory, but among your computer memory 10 bytes is not available, means then it will return some null pointer. If it is null, means that total amount of bytes is not available. So that's why we are using that malloc function. Returns null pointer if it couldn't able to allocate requested amount of memory. Okay, so we will have one of example for the malloc function. So here we are going to use the malloc function. This malloc function is come under one of header file that is called as stdlib. Okay, we have to use the specific header file that is called as stdlib.h. What is that stdlib means? Standard library function. So we are having 4 specific function for the dynamic memory allocation, that is malloc, calloc, realloc and free. These 4 functions are available in the specific header file that is called as stdlib. That is called as the standard library header file. And also remaining 2 header file are standard input output, that is stdio.h, and another one is string.h. It means we are going to use the string handling functions. So if you need to use that string handling function, we have to specify the corresponding header file, that is string.h. Okay, So let's go to the main program. So in the main program, initially I create one of pointer, that is character pointer I created, that is char star x. So x is a character variable. We use a star in front of the variable name. So it is called as the pointer variable. Okay. So it means this x can hold the address of another one variable. Okay. So here I am using that x equal to malloc 20 cross size of char. It means we are using that number, that is how many values we are going to store. If we need to store a 20 values, means we can use that 20, we have to specify here. We are going to create that memory allocation, so we use that malloc function, and how many number of values we are going to store, that number have to specify here. So I'm using that 20. It means maximum of 20 values, maximum of 20 characters I can store in the memory. That's why I'm using that 20 here. And also that number of size, we have to find how many number of size can be created. That's the use of the size of char. It means for a character variable it will be a 1 byte. So 20 cross 1, 20 bytes will be created for the x pointer variable. Okay. So initially we are checking that x equal to null. If 20 bytes is not available, then the pointer will return null value. So that we are checking x equal to null. So if it is equal means, then we can print it couldn't be able to allocate the requested amount of memory. Okay. So if it is false means, if it is allocated means, then it goes to the else part. So we are using that strcpy. Strcpy means string copy. So it means we can store any of string in the string variable, that is char pointer also called as the string variable. So we use that x equal to fresh to refresh.com. We are using one of the website. That website can be stored in the x variable. It means in the x variable we can store 20 characters. So this number of characters can be stored in the x variable, that is fresh to refresh.com can be stored in the x variable. Okay. Next we are going to print that value, that is printf dynamically allocated memory content %s. We are going to display that string value. So we are using that %s. Then we can use that x. If you simply use the x means it will display the value. If you use that star means, then it will display the corresponding value, that is only one value will be displayed. We are going to display the string value, so simply we can use that the pointer variable name only. Okay. Then at last we are using that free function. It is used to release the memory which is allocated initially for the variable x. Initially for x variable we created 20 bytes of memory. That total 20 bytes of memory will be released, will be deleted. So after this one, that 20 bytes is not available for any cases. So that will be removed from your computer memory. Okay. So this is your output we got. So dynamically allocated memory content fresh to refresh.com. Okay. So this value is stored in the x variable, that will be displayed here. So this is called as the malloc function. Malloc is used to memory allocation at the time of running. So we use that x equal to malloc, that is 20 number of values we are going to store. So use that 20 we use here. Then that number of size number of bytes we have to create, that can be calculated using of the size of operator for the particular data type. Okay. So 20 bytes we created. At last we release that 20 bytes from the particular x variable. Okay. So this is called as the malloc function. So next video we will discuss about the clloc function and other functions. So thank you everyone.